So very good. All right. Well, okay. So let me set the stage here. So a couple of things. So my goal is to make this as practical as possible, because this is deep mind science stuff. It's easy to get off the reservation on this, so to speak. It's easy to get very deep, and that might have even been like a little bit of maybe a maybe a mistake that I made, something that I had to learn from. You can make this way too deep, and then you're cheating yourself out of practice. You're cheating yourself out of time. We want to approach these to where these are enjoyable, to where it's not a hassle to do this. I mean, I remember starting out, I would try to make this as perfect as possible, almost like if you were approaching, Toshindo or Taijutsu, you try to get that kata just right, and I had to get that to just right. Well, then the more you do that in the beginning, the more the fun bleeds out of it. And you're just kind of doing this rote thing. You're not sure why. And I would really want everybody to walk away with something very practical today and very personal for you. So you feel empowered to take this and make it very yours. Now, at the same time, while we're making it ours, you could get too far off the reservation, and you could start doing stuff that really isn't Shugen or really isn't Buddhism, as these traditions are taught. Now, what the great part is it's super flexible, and we can be very flexible. We're going to talk about a lot of interesting ways to do this. At the same time, there is a centralized structure, and there is a set of principles that this will revolve around. And as long as it's revolving around those principles, I think Jay had a great question one time. He saw that I had gone down south into Mexico, and I had visited with a shaman, and a Mayan shaman, and or reformed Mayan, let's call it new Mayan, not doing animal and people sacrifices and stuff like that, now incorporating some other brighter things and so forth. And he asked me, he just said, this doesn't look Shugen or anything like I've seen Shugen. And so what Shugen is, so think of it this way. So what Mikyo, the Vajrayana practice of Buddhism in Japan, those practices are very specific. That would be like doing learning classical guitar, and exactly the right places that your fingers need to go, exactly the right strokes with your fingers and so forth. Now, it's music, and it's beautiful music. This Shugen is like doing jazz, kind of like doing jazz, a lot of improv in there, and there's a lot of room to bring some things in, as long as we're following and kind of adhering to some central tenets. So today it's going to be super practical, and it may even sound like, well, I don't know, how does this really relate to Buddhism if we're doing it like this? Well, the main thing is I want you to have something where you walk away where you can actually do it, and you can actually do these practices and have benefit like every day, and not feel daunted, not feel like, because that's how I felt at first. I felt very daunted, like it was so big and so detailed, and some of these practices can get very detailed that we can get lost in all those details and bogged down in them, and then we don't practice, and then we're not making any changes and so forth. So that's the other thing I would want today to be, is I would want it to be definitely have a conversation, and we're going to get wild in there. It's probably going to be some wild questions. I may even say, I don't know what the answer to that is. And I really want, I'm not the answer guy. I'm not a teacher. I'm not a teacher. What I am is an explorer. And I was just talking to Mr. Griffin and saying that the best thing about this whole training has been, I get to learn from Anshu. That's it. If I get that, wonderful. I walk away floating on air. So I'm like a quarter step ahead of anybody here. And some of you may be even ahead of me in certain areas. I know, like guys like Chris Lennick and stuff, they've been around this, just do, I mean, like 100,000 prostrations. I mean, come on, that's superhuman, you know? Oh, people do that all the time. Well, no, they don't actually. It's actually, so there are other people in here you could consult, you know, and you could take a look at. And I would encourage those people who have more experience to make it very down to earth and very accessible to people, right? To not create barriers where people feel like I can't do this. No, the goal of this would be to peel those away so that we could have a real down to earth experience with it. So what I thought we would do today is we would start out maybe with just some review, just maybe some review, and look at some of the perspectives I've had and some of the perceptions I've had on these three basic practices, three basic Shugen. You could call them Shugendo preliminaries. In the Vajrayana tradition in Tibet, there are very specific preliminary practices that you would do before you go on to any other practices. And each lineage in Tibetan Buddhism has different, what's called preliminaries. There's no real similar vehicle that we have in Shugen where it's set up that way. In Shugendo, it's suggested you do these things, but I mean, honestly, you can jump right in and start doing a Senko Goma, which is like this bonfire offering. We did it out in the woods. I mean, brand new people. I've never even seen anything. I'd never been exposed to Shugendo, and we're sitting out in the woods with Anshu, and Anshu's showing us how to set up incense sticks. This is one of the most advanced practices in Shugen that you could do, in my opinion, but there we were, just doing it. So in Shugendo, we don't have an official set of preliminaries that, now if you had a personal teacher, they may tell you, no, we need you to do 10,000 prostrations or 10,000 of the Misogi no Harai. So they may say that. Here's another thing about Shugendo. Shugendo is very syncretic. That's a fancy word that kind of says it's organic and living and has these interrelated pieces that have been pulled in from many traditions. So we're looking at base spirituality below or above, however you want to look at that, below any one religion. Or even looking beyond that, like this is about psychology. As far as I'm concerned, this is psychological tools. Now, of course, I come from a therapist background and all that kind of stuff, but I look at it that way. What are we doing? You know, we're doing spiritual stuff with gods and goddesses, and we're worshiping Buddhas. And no, we're not. We're not doing that. What we're doing is we're engaging certain psychological technologies to effect certain results on ourselves and on others as well. So technologies. So these are spiritual or spirit technologies. So that's kind of how we'll look at it, and it has lots of different elements to it. You know, there's Onmyodo, there's Taoist elements in there, and there's Shinto elements in there, and there's Vajrayana Buddhist elements in there, and there's Mahayana Buddhist elements. All these different pieces, and I even had a discussion one time with Anshu. Said, well, I'll bet if this had started forming a little later, and if the missionaries, the Jesuits and so forth had come with the explorers into Japan, we would have seen even something like maybe the Lord's Prayer in there too. Be willing to bet, because it's that living. And so then I would say that too. So if you look for real definite stuff, it's there, but you probably got to dig for it a little bit. So we're going to start out with these three basic practices. And this might be, you could say in an informal way, this is like the informal preliminary foundationals. That's what these three are. You could elaborate on them. You could go into Tibetan Buddhism and study all about prostrations. You could get plenty of stuff that really applies in the same Shugendo setting of doing prostration. You could study Tibetan. We even have it. We have it here in this book, here in this Gyoja, and there's two different versions of this, but here in this Gyoja book, this is an older one, and this is the newer one. You could, there's a Tibetan practice in here called Vajrasattva. Why is there a Tibetan practice in a Japanese system? Because Anshu wanted it there, because he sees the utility of it. And that's okay. So now we're starting to get what Shugen is. It's practical. It wants to affect it. It is a set of psychological tools to affect a certain result on ourselves. And turns out the Vajrasattva practice from Tibetan Buddhism is just stellar for certain applications. It really is cool and gives us some really cool stuff to do to affect some results on us, to make us look at reality different, to experience ourselves differently. So let's start out the review then. So let's start out. So Mr. Griffin, what would be a good place to start? Maybe this Sanrai, this 3 salutes. Maybe we could start there. Would that be a good place?
And let's just make it real clear for people that Sanrai and Gotai Tochi, same thing.
Same thing. So my interpretation of Gotai Tochi, Gotai is 5 body. Gotai To is it's a modifier. Gotai To Chi, earth. So 5 body earth, 5 body with earth. 5 body, what does that mean? Well, I think my sense is the Japanese is a very layered language. It may be symbolic about 5 different places on the body that we're touching to the ground. Okay, so let's look at that. So if we look at this Sanrai, so Sanrai literally translates to 3 prostrations. Anshu's very clever. He doesn't like calling things, anything that gets scary to people. What are we prostrating to? Why are we bowing? People would get immediately kind of, I don't know if I like that. Well, it's actually 3 prostrations, but let's be very specific about what we're prostrating to. So here's the directions. So I'm just reading out of this Gyoja book, this Gyoja Enlightened Warrior Gyoja Practitioner Recitation book. So sit cross-legged or kneel in seiza with hands in palm to palm gassho. And I think we need to start out with something first. Before we do that, I had this idea. I said, let's give a basic way to just start out a practice. Okay, so if I face this camera over here, and I got a Buddha. So Buddha, okay, so what's this Buddha a symbol of? Okay, so it's not a Buddha. So a lot of people would say, oh, you're worshiping a Buddha. You're worshiping a Buddha. Oh, no. This is me. This is you. So this is you in perfect, enlightened, fully realized form. If there was a self, a highest self, Hyung might refer to it as a self. This is the symbolic representation of you at your very best, beyond what you could imagine right now. So this would be you. This would be you. So then a good way to start a practice is, one, maybe you could put on a kesa stole, and you'll get one of those if you do this deshi ordination. You could put on some white. Now, I just chose to make mine very informal today. But you probably want to wear something special to you. Now, the black is the traditional color of Shugen. Found out. Didn't know that. I always thought it was white. That was a thing that came later after the war. So everybody kind of bound together, and all of these practices had been in secret, had ducked down for the war, and prior to that, in the Meiji Restoration, when all of Japan was looking to become more westernized, all these practices went underground to hide because they would burn this stuff. They didn't want, they had state Shinto. That's what you did. Everybody did state Shinto. And so then that's where the white came from later. It turns out black. So the shozoku that Anshu is selling on Century Martial Arts, that would be a perfect uniform, beautiful uniform. And then he did it very specifically to match the Togakure Ryu lineage's way of setting up the whole uniform. So that would be a cool thing. You could just wear white if you wanted to wear white. White is the color of purity of so okay, so now I got that on, and I may have my case or not, but I'm dressed in a way that now says to me what I'm doing now is different than everyday gliding through life. Nope. Right now, I'm becoming very aware. I'm tuning in. So then I might have a little Buddha like this, you know, a little Buddha. You could use a very small one if you wanted. You could use a bigger one. This is one that I had found, and I put it on this rock base. And it's outside. I've got woods all back here. So this is kind of nice. This is like would be more of a Shugen setting. You don't have to do it outside. You do it inside if it's cold where you are. So the first thing is you do is you would want to just light a candle. So you just light a candle. And that symbolizes all that is bright and light inside of us, all enlightening and bright forces around us. Everything that is bright and beautiful, I'm identifying more with that now, right? So a candle, a symbol, it's just a symbol of my own brightness. And then I might take some incense. And this is Japanese stick incense. And you want to, if you pick an incense, you don't want like Nag Champa or one of the sweeter Indian incense. You want something that's not sweet, traditionally. And you would take these three. Now, I like to give a little blessing to these. And this just purifies the offering. So what are we offering to? It's again, it's a symbol. It's a symbol. This Buddha is a symbol. This candle is a symbol. It turns out that the subconscious really likes symbols a lot. It talks in symbols. It doesn't talk in words and numbers and these types of things. It uses symbols. And so these three incense sticks that I have are maybe at one level a symbol of thoughts, my thoughts, what I'm thinking, my intentions, my words, what I'm speaking, how I'm communicating to the world, and then also what my actions are, my presence in the world. So I'm sticking those right in that purifying fire. And I might even say Om Ahong, Om Ahong, Om Ahong, those three syllables, Om, Ah, and Hong. I get this burning real good. And then I'll circle this three times counterclockwise and 3 times clockwise. And then I just kind of symbolically offer that up. What am I offering it to? Highest, brightest, most positive version of myself. I'm giving it all up for that. And I'm going to arrange these, and I have a little container here. It's got ash in it. You could use sand. Sand would be fine. And you set these up vertically. We set them up vertically. And now this would be a good setting for my meditation. Now, usually when I set them up myself, the incense sticks, I get them really straight. What does that symbolize? This is thought, word, and deed, all in unification with each other. So I set that up. Now that we have that set up, I'm in the right space, I'm in the right mindset. I've maybe made a couple of these, you could call them offerings. What am I offering? I'm kind of giving up. I'm giving myself to something brighter and more beautiful, a deeper, a higher, part of myself, part of my subconscious, you could even think of. So deeper, brighter, more integrated, whole part of myself. And I'm going to serve that. So I'm going to put all my little stories, all my small stories aside, all of my, maybe I have limiting stories of who I am and where I came from and, you know, different triumphs that I've experienced and different wounds that I've experienced. That's my story. That would be my ego, my ego. Well, I'm going to put that in subservience to my highest version, my highest potential. So I'm subjugating this other part of myself. I'm saying there's more to me. There's more. There's more than just small me. Small me, my version, my story, my right, my wrong, what I'm capable of, what I'm not capable of. No. I'm letting all that go. I'm giving that up. I'm giving that up for this moment. And I'm going to do some symbolic things to show that what I'm putting in charge is not my ego structure, not all my stories. Now, our stories are important. Our stories actually served us, and they actually gave us some very specific survival skills. And so our stories are important for sure. But I mean, in the final analysis, maybe they're stories. Maybe they're just just for this, I'm just going to give that up for now. And I can even make a gesture with my hands after I light this candle and these incense, and I say these words, Om Ahum Ahum, Om Ahum, and that purifies this offering of incense and light. And I just make a gesture of just giving that up. Yep. Just going to give, I'm going to give all that light, all that blessing. And if you want, you can imagine just a gorgeous, big Buddha, just on a lotus, beautiful lotus throne, just radiating light. And it's not hard. It's not like a knock on wood hard. It's not that. It's more, it's ephemeral. It's almost like transparent a little bit. So it's not fully there. So that's kind of a way we symbolically say to ourselves, I'm not worshiping something out there. I'm not, this is not what everybody, different religions are warned against, idolatry. No. This is a symbol that I'm created in front of me of my highest self, highest, most connected, most wise, most compassionate self. And now everything I got. So you can just make that little gesture. And you'll see that a lot in Shugen. You'll make that gesture, just offering that up. So now, once you do that, right? Now we're going to do Sanrai. So Sanrai, so it says, sit cross-legged or kneel in Seiza with hands palm to palm, Gasho, that's called Kongo Gasho or Gasho. That's the Japanese name for that hand position. Stand with your hands in Gasho and bend forward from the hips in salute, or stand with the hands in Gasho and kneel with a salute so that the head, here's the 5 parts, the head, backs of the hands, by the way, like this, right? So backs of the hands, you're going to turn your palms up like little lotuses, right? And someone said to me, oh yeah, these are lotuses for this higher form of yourself to come down and be here and be in charge. So I'm making lotuses for it to step down. Oh, that was so beautiful, beautiful. So we're using symbols. Well, why use all these symbols, Jim? It's an expedient to talk to our subconscious. Okay, our subconscious creates the constructs of reality and the way that we perceive reality. It is our subconscious is the substrate or the fabric through which all of reality is interpreted. Well, so then if I feed my subconscious some very specific symbols, lights, beautiful lights and candles, arranging incense in 3 straight lines, aligning my thoughts, words, and actions, and then an idealized version of myself, a totally realized being now. It's pretty communicative to the subconscious. Subconscious likes stuff like this. It likes ritual and it likes symbols, right? And you could say, I mean, you could tell a story with yourself. You say, oh, well, you know, this is I'm saluting the Buddha, and you'll hear people say that. Oh, you're saluting the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. I don't like to think of it that way, that I'm worshiping a Buddha. It's not like that. It's a projection outside of myself. So one person said an evocation is where she will take an image outside of herself and then step into it. Ah, this is what I'm doing. This is what we are doing with Sanrai. We are subjugating my ego, my stories, all my small me, all my limitations. What if they're a bigger me, a big me, beyond what I can even think of or conceive, giving that symbol to my subconscious and saying, this is what I'm serving. This higher version. I'm going to put everything else in subservience to that. So that's what we're doing with Sanrai. So then you say these words. So you press your hands palm to palm in Gasho to your forehead, for lines 1 and 2, to your throat, the speech. So forehead would be when you think of the forehead, this is about the body. You know, in America, the West, we would think, oh, this is our heart, our mind. It's actually the opposite in these Eastern cultures. So I'm blessing, and I can even imagine from this beautiful, glorious, highest potential self in front of me, glowing, wham, it hits me right in the forehead with white enlightened action. All of a sudden, my whole body, just imagine, have your eyes closed, imagine your whole body just lighting up, boom, just radiating this light through your cells, through your DNA, through your muscles, your bones. Everything is immediately purified. Then, so that's the Ishin Chorai. This part here, Jipo Hokai, to my throat. Red light comes from this idealized, embodied, symbolic, highest potential. Wham, hits me right in the throat. And even transfers, you can even see a little syllable there. This one would be an om. This would be an ah, deep inside though, deep inside your throat where your communication is. You could even see like a little, if you wanted to, you could see a lotus, a beautiful red lotus or a rose, right? Symbols, we're using symbols to communicate with the subconscious. I'm saying, oh yeah, now my highest actions are here. Now my highest verbalizations and communication with the world are here now, embodied. And now I do this blue. So I see this blue coming from the heart. Wham, hits me in the heart, and I see a hum. And you can see these in Sanskrit. You could also see them in English. You could see them, you know, om, om here. Ah, ah, d. Hum, but you say it with a G at the end, hum. And that is a blessing of the mind, a blessing of the heart. On my highest, now I'm seeing highest truth too. So I'm reaffirming that with my actions. I'm reaffirming that. I'm communicating that with myself. I'm communicating it with all else. I'm communicating that with my subconscious. And I'm doing that. So you would say these words, and use real deep, use it deep and resonant. Ishin Chorai, Jipo Hokai, Joju Sanbo. Deep, resonant, way deep down. Even saying those words gives you little goosebumps a little bit. That's what you want, right? You want you're looking to impress your subconscious with this. And you could do it. You could, I mean, could you do it with just, you know, Shin Shorai, Jipo Hokai, Joju Sanbo. You could do that, but it's just not having, no, I need to embody this. So I'll make this gasho with a little jewel inside, and would offer that up. Joju Sanbo. And then I would bow setting my hands, forehead, knees, feet, all of those on the ground. And then coming up and doing it again. So I even like to, you could make this as fun as you want. You can just offer up a bunch of stuff, like everything, jewels and cars and money and spices and beautiful lights and starlight and all of these things. I'm offering that. I'm saying, I want to be that. I'm embodying that highest version of myself. That's what I want to be. That's how I want to be on the hoof, moving around. So then I'm honoring that, and I'm offering everything I got, all my limitations, all of it, and offering it all. And then now I'm pulling this blessing down in Ishin Chorai, Pohokai, Joju Sanbo. When I do this, I'm becoming this. So this is a Sankosho, a diamond thunderbolt. You could see the hands and the head. What is this symbolic of? You at your highest, you at your best, you at your fullest realized potential. There you are. We could also say this is symbolic of truth, highest, ultimate, base underlying truth, like unequivocal. There's not, so there are a lot of folks are fond of saying, well, that's your truth. You know, well, this is your, no. I'm drilling down into the truth, beyond the bottom line, my bottommost line of who I am and who I am in this world. Truth in action. So this is actually the traditional way. Now, this is how I originally learned it from Anshu and other teachers that were in this. This is the Mikyo way. So you would Ishin Chorai, Po Hokai, Joju Sanbo. And so forth. So there you go. So now, what is this really embodying? Well, in the book, you could see it says Kie Bukyo, Kie Hokyo, Kie Sokyo. So that's like you could do that vow right after this. You could do these Ishin Chorai, you could do that verse, right? And this verse just means with single-hearted focus, I demonstrate to myself and everyone everywhere, to this whole world, every day, my pledge for the timeless transformational power of the three treasures. And the three treasures, the thing that makes the change, one, you believe that you got a potential like what you're bowing your head to. You believe that that's real, that is reachable, that you could do that you can somehow get out of your own way, no matter how thick the problems are, no matter how depressed you might get, no matter how anxious you might get, no matter how many problems I have with my loved one, I can pierce through that. I am affirming that I can pierce through that, and I can realize this highest potential. That's the Buddha. That's the trust and refuge, protection of that ideal. I believe that can happen. I believe I can do that. I doubt it. I doubt it sometimes, but you know what? I'm doing this thing, and this was reaffirming, nope, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm doing. This is what is real to me. That's what you're telling your subconscious. This is what is real to me. I'm beyond all my stories. I'm reaching beyond all of that. So then that's Kie Bukyo, my inner potential brightness to be awakened. Kie Hokyo. So this is Ho way, the authentic method. This is the method that you're learning through Anshu. Those methods, right? Literally, this Sanrai that we're doing here, Gotai Tochi, this method is the vehicle that I'm following to get this job done. And then Kie So Kyo, so Kie Bu Kyo, Kie Ho Kyo, Kie So Kyo. And what's that one? There's a lot of people that know more than I do. I got teachers, I got Sangha members, I got people that are in this group right now that can teach me things, and they can teach me how to progress. And not only that, they show an example of it through how they live, through how they live. They're honest, they're bright, they're beautiful. They get up every day and they're devoted to helping others and connecting with others. And that is their shtick. That is their, yep. And that's why I'm saying, I want to follow that. I want that example. I want to live like that. Right. So this is what you're doing with Sanrai. With Sanrai o Gotai Tochi, we're subjugating all the smallness, all the smallness of myself. It's not that we reject it, or it's not that we, we're being mean to it or anything like that. No, we're actually showing it love. But I'm saying all of that is in subservience to this higher potential that I've got, this potential I've got in my heart. What if it were like a diamond, and it's this gorgeous, brilliant, beautiful, just radiant, just, and that would radiate in all directions. And you got that inside, but it's covered, and it's got some muck on it and some gunk and some things that, some habits and some ways of seeing myself that really aren't the real truth. Ways of talking about myself or speaking that get in my way, or maybe ways that I move through life where I'm getting in my way, and I'm reaffirming that, no, I'm that diamond. I am that, and I'm becoming more of that all the time. I'm becoming more of that. This is, so then you can see it reflected in our student creed. I believe in my potential, or I believe in myself, right? I'm confident I can accomplish my goals. That's the first one, right? There's a bigger me, and I can trust in that. I believe in what I study. I can trust in that too. And then I believe in my teachers. I can trust in this method, and I can trust in the people who embody it before me and who are doing this work. So this is what we're doing with Sanrai. So let me stop there. Let's open it up. Let's talk. Let's have a discussion now. What do you guys think of this? What comes up for you? What questions come up? Oh God, maybe you have things I don't agree with that. This is, or this looks like this to me. Let's talk about that now. So
I have a question.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Mhm.
The Omahum and the Ishinchora Jipohoka Jojo Sambo, are we doing that all at the same time or one at a time? I'm curious. Yeah, I'm curious.
Sure. Here's where the flexibility comes in. You can make this very simple. You don't have to light candle. You don't have to do the incense. You don't even have to have a Buddha image. You can just do it in your mind. Really, I mean, I learned from Chris Lennox, and I had kind of figured this anyways, and I was already, but then he kind of made it. He said, you do this with your finger. My finger? Yeah, because there's this thing called emptiness, and we get to make the reality what we want to. So if I feel that kind of subservient, I do this with my finger. So then there are many ways to do this. You could do it exactly like, and that would be a beautiful way to practice is, and then just go into a prostration. You could do that. You could do it this other way, or the Mikyo way. Ishin Chorai Jipohokai Joju Sanbo. You could do that. You could do a Tibetan style prostration where you would flatten out your whole body along the length of the floor and visualizing up above you this radiant Buddha-ness that's you, and you're serving that. And I'm gonna let go of everything that I am, my story, and I'm doing this right here. So yeah, you could do it. Now, what I do personally, I like to do all the visualization stuff. I think it's great exercise for the brain. And but you don't have to do it that complex. You don't have to visualize all the stuff going up to this Buddha image. You don't have to visualize bright lights hitting you. Just say the words, and squeeze your hands, press your hands together. This is a body energetic thing. And then flatten your hand. And one of the things that happens with prostrations is it's getting all of the energy and unblocking all kinds of energies in your body. So I'm sure Chris can speak to this. I'm curious, Chris, what kind of
He's gone.
emotional
He had
things?
to-
Oh, is he gone already?
Yeah,
Oh,
he's going skydiving for his birthday, so he had to
so there you go. So that gets your energy going, right?
go.
That they'll start crying. I mean, they'll go through, some days they'll feel great, sometimes they feel awful. This is because this is unlocking all kinds of energies along those energy centers in your body. So it's very practical what we're doing. Energy centers, what are those? Well, we have different places we come from. When we come from different places in our body, certain things tend to be true. Sometimes it may come from my head and I'm really intellectual about stuff and really left brain and want the words and want the exact description. And so does that mean this? And does this mean that? And I'm asking questions and okay, word brain. What about coming from the heart? Maybe you know of someone that comes from their heart, as a beautiful, gorgeous heart. My daughter, first person that came to mind. She's just very loving and just very bright and smiles. And not me, I'm serious. I come from this place up here, you know? So then I got to work at, you know, bringing energy down into these other places. What about low in the guts? Some people are very, very gutsy and ballsy and they just jump in and do it. And not a whole lot of thinking, maybe not a whole lot of touchy feely, but they're in there just doing it. Okay, cool. So sometimes I can come from different places and it wakes up energy along those centers now, because now I'm becoming a full human being with all of these firing. So that's part of what's going on too with the prostration. Well, hopefully that
Thank you.
helps.
Thank you.
Okay, sure. What else we got?
Jim's Jeff Davis.
Hey, Jeff.
How are you?
Excellent. How about you, sir?
Good, good. Since what I'm hearing from you is that this can be fairly free form, creative. Would you say you could do both the or the om, and then do that 3 times and then go into the sunrise?
Oh, sure. I
Yeah.
think that's yeah, this would be, so the way I look at this is the kata. That's the formalized version of the kata, right? And ideally we want to approach the kata as close as we can.
Yes.
But with that, there's some flexibility too. You know, I mean, there are times, I'll just be really honest with you. I'm busy, I'm moving, I'm in the shower, man. And this is funny. I've actually had my wife walk through the shower while I'm doing these. And I'm doing prostrations in the shower. What are you doing in there? You know, oh, I'm just doing my stuff, you know. So we can use, I've done them in the car, driving. Got to be careful, got to be looking while I dip my head and touch my head on the steering wheel. Be aware. But you could do them in the car. Yes, and it is free form to a degree. We can choose Om Ahum, or we can do Ishin Shorai Jipo Hokai Joju Sambo. You can do that. You could just visualize it. Visualize this Om bright white light, just right in the center of the forehead, purifying everything. Whole body just goes boom, lights up. And then I do this, whatever you feel connected to. Certain ones will call out to you. Some of you may do the vocal one and really get into that. And it gives you goosebumps. I remember the first time I did that and somebody showed me it. Oh man, I had goosebumps. I knew exactly what we were doing. I got it, like instant download. Sometimes you'll get lucky and something like that'll happen. And you just know what this is. I don't know what that is if it's that previous lifetime stuff, if such a thing exists. I don't know if it's just you connect with it and that's, but yeah, so we have that latitude in there as long as we're hovering around these, these kata. Now, what about the visualization? I've heard Anshu say, you know, if you identify more with like a superhero, and he even made an allusion to it about, you know, Santa and, and olive oil. And I'm like, So I'm kind of a traditional guy in that. I like Buddha, you know, the idealized version of ourselves, of you there, and doing that one. But you could use something else that is in line with this highest potential of who and what you are, that you have not yet realized, but you are in the process of realizing it. So the story was told to me one time about like acorn, you know, acorn. So acorn, if you look at it, it's a little acorn, you know, and it's just these little things that are, and they have a little hat on them, you know, and that's, you learn that when you're a kid, maybe. Oh, look at a little hat, you know, little guys with hats, and we even draw faces on nests, potential and inherent in the acorn, like the big gorgeous thing that you see that's reaching out to the sun and gives shade and has swings in it for children, and you know, it's just this gorgeous, amazing thing. It's all contained right inside that little, you know, right inside that little acorn. So then I'm identifying my acornness that I can be the oak tree, the beyond version. And I'm going to keep growing towards that. That's the ideal. So we keep that feeling in mind. As long as I got that feeling, and that's what I'm giving up to, wonderful. Wonderful.
Thanks, Jim.
Uh-huh.
Hey, let's go to Kelly's question, and then I want to move us along to the purifications, because we're
Sure. Thanks so much, Brian.
we're more than
Thanks so much.
we're more than halfway through our time for
Oh
today.
man, yeah.
I wanna make sure we get to that stuff. Kelly, go ahead.
Go ahead, Kelly.
This might help. I feel like there's going to be a lot of variations where you're going to be like, yeah, sure, you can do that. Yeah, sure, you can do that. Are there any like maybe standout negatives, like maybe don't go that route, or that's not exactly
Part.
within the premise?
Can you say that again, Kelly? I'm sorry, I cut out at the best part.
The question is I feel like there's going to be a lot of affirmation on how to go about it. Is there anything that's negative, like maybe don't do that, like kind of stands out as either a hard no or really advise against when it comes to these?
So if I were going to say something like that, and this is my limited experience, through the filter of my ego, and I reserve the right to change my mind, but I would say it's worshiping something outside yourself. You're not doing that. It's not that. This is a symbol of my highest self. So I'm the power, you know, isn't, you know, in this Buddha figure. It's not there. It's a symbol. So I would say that might be one. I would say too, there is a degree of very heartfelt, like coming from my heart about
Jim, can you
this.
say that again? You froze up for a
Oh,
second.
sorry.
There
I'm
is a
being,
degree.
so in other words, I am being very heartfelt with this. I'm not just doing these by rote. I'm not just doing this. No, this is a reason. There's a thing I'm embodying here. There's a feeling that I'm doing with this. And I'm not just going through the motions. I'm not just going through the motions. Now, oh, Shincho Po Gaijoju Sambo, and I do that 3 times and I got my prostration stuff. No, not that. That's the same as doing a kamae and not really meaning moving back. It's the same. I need, when I'm doing my taijutsu kamae and I move, I'm really embodying. And by the way, this is a great use of emptiness. Emptiness meaning we get to make it what it's going to mean to us. So that means I'm feeling defensive and I'm angling away while I do it. I'm not just moving there for no reason. Same here. So we're being very, very deliberate, might be. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, so now we're going to move on to the purifications. So let's do this. So let's do the Misogi one, Misogi no Harai. first. So we'll look at that. So first of all, why even have them? Why even have these? Why have Vajrasattva and why have Misogi no Harai? Why would I even want these in there? Again, they're technologies, and what we're really doing is we are affecting the subconscious. That is the construct for your entire personality structure. The reason why you view things the way you do, and the reason why you see yourself and reality the way you do, is because of the filters that were set up on the subconscious level. The subconscious is a real thing. It's a real part of us. It really exists. How do we know that? Well, I mean, look at when you drive your car home, and you're on a long drive and 10 miles left to drive, and I'm turning on the radio and I'm thinking about 17 other things, and somehow I end up in my driveway. How's that happen? There is another part of you that is below the level of awareness that takes care of that for you, so that your conscious upper brain structures, higher level structures, are freed up to be able to tend with other data. So this subconscious is substrate, maybe like a very, very deep iceberg. That programming, that's the operating system we're rewiring with this stuff. So then, we're going to do these symbolic purification practices, but what are they really doing? What are they really doing? Does it really affect me? Well, we have plenty of things that we make up in life. And one of the ones that Brian and I were talking about is money. I mean, does money do anything? It's totally made up. You got these green paper things, and you can go, we've all decided together that this means something, and this has a certain worth. And then Brian brought up Mr. Griffin brought up a great thing. He was just like, look at a dime. A dime is small, tiny little thing, and a nickel is bigger. It's bigger. And if you ask any 5-year-old which one's worth more, or 4-year-old, they're going to look at the bigger one and say that's worth more, that's bigger. But yet it's not like that. We've actually set it up to where the little one is actually worth more. So yes, it's a symbol, but it really does something. It's really doing something. So if I were to engage my body and my mind and my being in imagining a purification, is something real happening? Could your subconscious latch onto those symbols and say, yep, we're doing it? Because what I've been told is that the order takers are always listening. The order takers are always listening to every verbalization that comes out of your mouth, every gesture that you make, every thought that you think. Your subconscious is busy apprehending all of that. And so then if I were to congruently present my subconscious with an image of purification, and I can feel it, and I feel it moving through my my DNA and cleansing like a swirling coiled slide, and it's just purifying all of that, and all of that is going out with black inky, and I do that 100 or 1,000 times, is something real happening? Then I'm going to subject to you that yes, something real is happening at that point. At some point in there, your subconscious buys into the show and says, yep, we're purified. We're purifying this. Yep, we're doing it. So the subconscious doesn't hear what's true and what's not, like right now. So just close your eyes for a second. We'll just do this for 2 minutes. Just take a deep breath and kind of get your spine a little straighter. And this is just for fun. We'll just do this for fun. Now imagine that you're in your kitchen. And imagine that you open up your refrigerator. And in the refrigerator, you see this beautifully gorgeous, bright yellow lemon. So there it is. And you know what we're going to be doing with it. So you pick the lemon up and you can feel its texture in your hands. You feel it in your hands. You can feel the slightly bumpy but smooth and glossy surface. And You close the refrigerator, you feel the refrigerator door close, and then you slowly pull the lemon up to your nose. And of course, we haven't cut it yet or anything, but you smell it, and you smell that delightfully refreshing citrus, slightly, it's pungent, it's strong, but it's clean. And then you walk over and you see a cutting board on your counter there. And of course, there's a beautiful knife there, and you know what we're going to do with it next. And so we put the lime down, and you could feel it settle on the cutting board, and you pick up the knife and you carve through directly in the middle, and you're watching all of the juice just spray. And you can smell this. You can smell this gorgeous lemon. And now I take 1/2 of the lemon, and oh, there's juice just flowing down the sides of the lemon onto your fingers, and you smell it again. You can smell how good and fresh this smells. You can put down the knife, and now you know what the next step is. I'm going to bite the lemon. And so I bring it up, and I can feel, I haven't bit yet. I'm just feeling and tasting with my tongue, and I can feel its bitterness, and I can feel its and taste its sour. Oh, this is going to be it's going to wake me up when I do this. And now pull the lemon away and take a deep breath. Let that image go. And then slowly open your eyes and come right back here and now. Okay. So anybody's mouth watering a little bit? What do you think? Anybody get their mouth watering? Okay. Was anybody able to smell it? And oh, some of you smelled it. Could you feel the glossy texture and the bumpiness of it? Yeah, this is all made up. It's not even real. But yet our bodies are responding like this is real. So I'm going to submit to you that when we do a symbolic thing like the Misogi no Harai or the Vajrasattva, there is a part of you that buys into this. A part of you, and the more detailed and the more sensory rich you can make that experience, the more the subconscious says, yep, this is the truth. And then it responds. It responds. And so I'll leave you with those thoughts. Can we imagine a thing and the reality be created at some level, even if it's just for me? Yeah, this is personal as all get out. So now, if we look at this Misogi verse, so I'm gonna turn over to that, and if you've got it, you can follow along with me. I'm just in this green booklet here, and the Misogi no Harai comes. It's a little past midway, so you'll see the spiritual purification practices. And both of these practices, the Hyakuji Myo is under it, and Misogi no Harai. Okay. So now, what are we doing with the Misogi no Harai? Well, one, you don't even have to use, it's almost the equivalent of using a real lemon. You're in the shower. You're feeling water on your skin. It's part of the performance. It's part of the simulation of purification. Now, maybe it goes past a simulation then. Now, part of me, I'm really purifying. I'm really kind of, old dead skin cells are sloughing off. And no, there's real purification happening. If you get hung up in there, if you get hung up. Now, the more fun you have with this, the better it is. The subconscious loves us to have fun, and it loves a good trip. It loves a good story. So then we're telling ourselves a story here. And we're in this cold water, and the cold water is nice because, that'll really wake you up. And nothing more refreshing than icy cold water, right? And if you want, you can just do this on your hands. You could do it under running water with your hands in the sink, and then have your eyes closed and just splash some water, and just feel that. This is getting our body into the performance, into the And ideally, I just want to let go that it's even a performance. No, it's just a reality, just like you did with a lemon, right? So I'm doing this, and so then I visualize. So you could also do it with buckets of water. I've done it at Brian's Lake Quest and taken buckets of water and just start pouring them over my head, you know, at the lake there where it's a little chilly. That water gets a little chilly. It helps if the water's cooler, but then you don't need it. You can have tropical water like Anshu's visualization that he did last time. Who in here was able to kind of get into that, where they were right there and in this tropical place? And anybody, and that's the fun of it. You let yourself do this. You get out of your own way, and you put the logical mind, oh, this isn't logically happening, and I'm in the shower. I'm not, no. Let your logical mind just rest. Give that a break for a little bit. It's on all the time anyway. So give that a break and let yourself experience this. Let yourself experience this. So this is where we get into the idea that these are right brain exercises. The bowing, the prostrations, they're right brain. They're designed to get around your conscious guardian. Gotta have it this certain way. No, let those rest a bit and let this work for you. Let this work for you. Trust that your teachers they got your highest ideals in mind. Nobody's trying to brainwash you or anything. In fact, they're trying to brainwash you in the best way possible, or they're not, but you're allowing yourself in the water. You're brainwashing yourself. You're doing that, right? So I do this every day, and I do it 1,000 times. Does part of me buy into it? I submit yes. So usually it's done standing in a river beneath a waterfall. You can go in a waterfall if you want to. That's a gorgeous experience. If you go to Hardy's, Mr. Merritt's Mountain Quest, and you go there, I mean, this thunderous waterfall is there. Oh, and it'll get your attention. It'll get your attention. And when you're in it, oh, I think you're getting cleansed. And that's just like, and a little trick when you're in the waterfall, bend your head forward a little bit, and the water will cup around your face. So you got a little space in there to breathe. Be careful about waterfalls too. If I directly take that impact on the top of my head, we can get, it can hurt us, you know, so you want to be careful. You want to probably have a friend with you, I would say too. That's a good safety thing if you're out in the wilds. So somebody can yank you out of there. I was stupid and did some of these totally on my own. Looking back, that wasn't really smart. And I did them in the dead of winter. And it was a challenge thing, you know, and you don't have to do it like that. You don't have to do it like that. So, and now let's talk about the verse.
Mr. Hayes said too, like, kind of lean your thigh in and get your thigh wet first. And then, so your, and then your shoulder. So you get like different parts of your body into that cold water first. Don't just jump in head and chest. Like you could have go into cardiac arrest there, you know, if it's too cold. So eyes and then shoulders, and then you can get your body in.
Yes, absolutely. You can do that. And here's another trick too. So you can, if you put some of this water, if it's got ice cold shower, put it by your groin, by your femoral arteries, your body will adapt very quickly. And the other way to do it is to take a mouthful, get a mouthful and under your tongue. And there are sensors there. If I just get a big mouthful of cold water and swish it around and spit it out, definitely spit it out if you're out in the wild, because you don't want to, you know, get giardia or anything like that. You don't have to do the mouth part. I do it. It's just, especially if it's really, really cold out there. If I go out inside to do that there, you don't have to do it in cold. You could do it in warm flowing water too. But just make sure it's flowing. It's flowing water. Now let's look at the verse. What's this mean? So this is a legendary reenactment of like a mythological purification. And the translation, if you look at it, says on the high heavenly plane, right? So now we're automatically setting the stage in the center of the universe, you know, center of the solar system. You know, there were a pillar holding the whole thing up, the axis mundi, the central, where it all happens and comes from. So divinely sit, the God and the goddess divinely sit, all expansive energies and all receding and receiving energies. Those are all there in witness of this. And Japan's royal ancestor, the guy that legendary mythical started Japan, Izanagi, the divine one in Tsukushi, and they name out, you know, and Mr. Griffin had a funny way of putting it. What did you say, Mr. Griffin? It'd be like saying what? You had a funny way of putting it.
You know, it mentions this region in Japan, and if we don't know why, it's like, well, could I say, like, you know, on the banks of the Mississippi in Alabama, you know, there's a guy named so and so, and he walks down
Right in Walker County, and
yes.
you know,
why is this part of Japan? Why is this region here brought to mind as part of the visualization? That was my question.
I don't know specifically why that is picked. I'm imagining that this is where some of this lore probably originated. And so they're picking this place. Let's just say this is another way of just saying, look, if you're naming counties and streets, and this was a special place, you know? So imagine this gorgeous, beautiful place where this first happened, and it's giving you an account of it. And in the legend, he had gone into the underworld to save his beloved, to help her. And she had gotten lost in the underworld. So he went in there to get her out. And here's an analogy about going down into your emotions, into your subconscious, into deeper parts of yourself. It can get a little scary in there. And maybe we have some things, you know, some old survival defense kinds of things that are set up in there that were supposed to help us. Now they're getting in our way or whatever. This is how he went in there to save the female counterpart to this. And he got defiled with all this stuff, all this yuck. And it's not a bad thing, but just stuff that got in his way, you know, stuff that got in his way. And then it says, at that time, summoning all purifying divine forces, may all various defiling things. This is the important part. Moro moro no magakoto. May all various defiling things, sins and impurities, not sins in the old Christian way, but just things that are counter to wholeness. All of those that we do, right? You yelled at your kid. You got in an argument with your wife or your loved one. You said something to somebody at work or to the guy on the street that cut you off. That. Right. It was contrary to wholeness and evolution and building more wholeness. So may all of these sins, all of these impurities, all of these things where I got my own way, may they be purified and cleansed and made pure. Now, this is a really important part here. I love this part. When I really started connecting with this part, it was cool. So we proclaim and request of all heavenly spirits and all worldly ruling spirits. So all heaven spirits, anything that's listening, anything that has, could there be energies or could there be more that's listening? Well, sure. What if it's just not just physical people? We already know there's some creatures that are lower, that are closer to the ground, that are animals, insects, worms. We know there's higher ones, birds, and more etheric. What if there are ones beyond what you can sense with your normal senses? What if you have to use intuitive parts of yourself to be able, you ever felt like something bigger was there? Something bigger at a place, or maybe the spirit or energy of the place, just it's bigger than me. There are places on the earth that bring this up. And so then you're invoking all of that. You're invoking anything that can help, everything and anything that can help you, even amongst all of the worldly kinds of, is there a spirit of the land and where we're at? Sure. There's a feeling in the land right here that's different from the land where you're at and different from where Jay's at in Hawaii. I hear that the spirits or weather, whatever you want to call it, has made some blizzards or snow there, volcanic snow and things I was hearing about earlier today. So there are different energies that are operating in different places, and I'm pulling all that in, and I'm going to visualize it above me, big, bright, beautiful, just things rushing in, coming in to help, and this is saying I'm calling on all that inner things that can help purify me and outer? And what if ultimately there's no difference between the two? What if it's just one thing and we just think an inside and outside is because we're in a human body and we're kind of programmed already to feel that way? But what if that's not how things really exist? So then it's saying 8 million. That's another way of saying infinite divine spirits coming together. This is the most beautiful part here that I love. Like the dappled horses of heaven perk their ears at the slightest sound. Please hear our petition. Reverently, with reverence and humbleness, humbly we state that this purification is happening. And then with that, we see all of these impurities going down through us, coming out of all the lower orifices, out of our feet and so forth, inky black, going right down the drain, and nature just picking that stuff up and becoming more lush. So we're doing this that way. And it's important to say these verses. If you're going to do the Misogi one, you say it the right way. So there's a recording of this. You can see the recording and listen to the recording on Subaki Shrine of America. You can go in there and you can find Takigyo, look under Takigyo or Misogi, and you can hear a recording of an old Shinto priest doing this. And you follow right along. It's really important to say it. You're going to have to be daring to say it honestly from your heart. You have to be brave, right? Be brave and feel this in the back of your throat and resonating up into your sinuses and into your jaw and into this whole area through here. This is an energetic thing too. It's energies rising up too, and then visualize this downward flow through central channel, through all of these energy centers, just purifying it, unlocking and freeing things up, and things that are old and crusty, just freeing those, and washing around DNA, washing around your brain. Allow yourself to get into it. And yeah.
Derek, can we go to, you got your hand up there?
Yeah. Here, let me turn it off here. There we go. All right. I had talked to Anshu about this a while ago, and I said, oh, so you relax into the cold, you relax into the waterfall. And he said, no. In a sense, he used the word fighting the waterfall, but after more discussions with him about this process, you enter the water with a breathing that is uninterrupted. So that though there is the cold, though there is the pressure, though there is he even said the hum of it pushes out all the exterior sounds. So you're enveloped by it. It becomes a mantra in itself, the sound of the waterfall. But with my studies with Wim Hof, if you go into the cold and you're fighting the cold, you release cortisol. You go into a stress response. How long can I stand it? And it becomes a stress on your system. But if you do like what Brian was saying, or what Anshu was saying, you accept the cold and you are you regardless. And so as you go in, it becomes a joyous thing. It's cleansing you down through. So your body is actually releasing adrenaline and norepinephrine. It has a very physical, different reaction when you enter the water with that mindset. So like you're saying, Jim, it's so very real. Is it going to be a stress on you that you're going to be tired for the rest of the day? Or are you going to be elated when you get out and feel refreshed and cleaned and, ready to take everything on? So it was a really interesting perspective of what I thought it was. And then what Anshu said, no, this is the direction you want to try to take these actual Takigyo. So
yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect, Derek. Thanks so much for pulling that in. There is something about the cold water, and this is why it's helpful to kind of get used to it a little bit first. And I like to even just kind of back into it. Now, there are some days where I'll just plunge in, and there's even like a direction you can go in with these. Like you can get in the fall in a certain direction and get out in another direction, depending on the time of day and all that. you don't have to do it that way. But there is something, there are physiological things that are happening. So the vagus nerve runs along the front and back of the body, and that's getting stimulated. And then the diver's reflex is getting stimulated, where our heart rate goes down, where our whole limbic system, where the brain, this is Dan Siegel's hand model of the brain. And if I peeled off the outer cortex, this might be the amygdala and the limbic system in here. This whole part is getting down regulated. That's the part that has all the stress. It's getting down regulated through that. So there are real physiological things that are happening, but the mindset, yes, is really important. And we could do it with different mindsets. You could do it. That's how I've done it for years. It's just to relax in there and then just feel that. There's another way to do it though, where you're bigger than the falls. That's a different way. That's a different way. But the basic expedient is just to, you could just do the visualization. You could just do that and really concentrate on that if you wanted to just do that part. If you resonate with these words, I think I had to say them for quite a few times before something started to wake up in me and said, this is very special. These are very special words that you're saying and you're intoning. There's a whole idea of kotodama, or charged spiritual words, could sound by itself, have an effect on you and others and other physical things. Yes. So we're putting all that into action here, getting all that into action. So
Jason, you want to go next?
Yes, thank you. I was just a couple of observations, like when you were talking before about the Shigen practices and how you posed the idea, what would it look like if Shigen had started later, whenever the Jesuits and the Christian missionaries were first arriving in Japan. And I couldn't help but, realize how similar the Misogi no Harai is, very similar to baptism in a way, but as opposed to seeking the outward salvation, it's seeking the salvation from yourself, from your own highest potential, in a manner of speaking, if that made any sense at all.
yes, no, yes.
And the mantras being very similar to like reciting a Lord's Prayer in a way, because also in Christianity, Christ himself underwent baptism from John the Baptist as also a symbol, and then the acknowledgement from God that he was proud of what he had done. So I think that the way that the Shugen has evolved, it's like you talked about, very syncretic, very practical. It's almost touched on these things even before they were ever exposed to them.
Yes.
like almost precognitive in a way. And also when you mentioned the translation where it talked about the 8 million beings, 8 million spirits, and you said that's kind of a reference, that's more of a reference to an infinite number of spirits. I found it interesting that they use the number 8, which is also, if you flip it on its side, is the symbol for infinity.
Infinity. Yeah. Oh, great. Yes. Thank you for that. Yes, very much. And you're going to see that these spiritual practices are reflected around the world. You'll see this. And then, like I used to not be comfortable because my certain members of my family grew up, they were very, very conservative, very kind of Christian, very, very conservative Christian, just very tightened down. And I rebelled against it. I was like, I don't want to see anything about this. This doesn't resonate at all with me. This is, I rejected it. My heart, my body, everything just said, nope. And then as I started to do more of these and grow into this a little bit, I started to see this is the same. So I like going to church. I like going to church because I see Kuji crosses everywhere. I like seeing, I like seeing the Lord's Prayer. I like when they light the candles. Oh yeah, we do that too. So what if there are deeper symbols? So certain religions will put certain meanings on things and interpretations and beliefs, but the actual technology is much deeper than this, much deeper than maybe there's multiple symbolic layers to why you're lighting a candle or why you're lighting incense and twirling it. Oh, you'll get a commentary from someone and say, oh yeah, well, this is a banishing kind of circle, and this is a, you know, an invitation or a blessing type of circle. Yeah, but I don't know if I see it like that. Maybe. But then later on, then you start seeing other symbolic references to it, even, you know, as something simple like modern advertising and stuff. And I'm like, they're using symbols to communicate things to deeper parts of us that words don't reach, that words don't reach. And so, yes, it's beautiful. You're very right. There's so many cool things that are in there. Just hang out long enough and you get brave enough. And now we're actually experiencing some deep symbolic technologies that go beyond religions. I really refer back to that. These are psychological techniques to change your psychology, to rewire who you are, to rewire us so that we experience reality differently. Okay, so I was going to talk for a second about Vajrasattva. Vajrasattva was imported from the Tibetan practices. Here's a picture of Vajrasattva. So this is the diamond thunderbolt being. And in this practice, you would see this being above your head. Why do I got to see that being? You don't have to see that being. You can see just beautiful white purifying light. It just so happens that this particular culture really thought anthropomorphizing or turning into human form these symbolic things of purity was helpful. That's all. It's not a being. It's not a thing. It's not something that exists independently of me. And that's why you kind of see them as kind of transparent. It's symbolic to deeper parts of us that this is not apart from me. This is just an externalization of a purer part of me temporarily, so that I can identify myself with more purity and this action of purification that's happening. And we would say these other charged words that have maybe the reason why they're charged is whole legions of people who bought into this, really vibed with this. And now that's what's getting passed down into us, is the vibe of what they were trying to achieve, this purification. So, you know, could it be that just uttering something in a certain way can connect you with a whole wave of others that were doing the same thing, looking for the same result? Yeah. It's not that they're worshiping this being. They're not worshiping that. That's a symbol. That's a symbol of your own highest, purest, empty nature. Emptiness. Beautiful, pure emptiness, undefiled. And out of that symbolic part around his heart revolves this mantra. And you can put it in English, just revolving around it. And it's written down in that book, Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manopalaya Vajrasattva Dinopa. And you want to say that resonantly too. But you know, resonate deep down in your body and through your sinuses too. So there's something about that helps us to, and helps the subconscious to get in there with you. That's what's doing the work. The workhorse is the subconscious. So we want to get that involved. So we use all these experiences. We use paintings and we use symbols with our hands, and we use colors and music and certain words, and get everything going so that your subconscious is in on this truth with you. And now the subconscious then affects the results. So there's Vajrasattva.
Let's ask Diana's had her hand up for a little bit.
Diana, go for it.
Who she's at.
Awesome. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Brian.
Yes, sir. Or ma'am.
Okay. My question regards what I asked the other day on Facebook with this causality idea and purification. So I'm kind of curious if the purification or the act of purifying ourselves is what helps us upgrade our thoughts, words, and actions to where they are now elevated into this state of falling into the category of right thoughts, right words, and right actions. So it's like this, not just the purification of the DNA and the body and the physical person, but also that higher entity to where even at those levels where we can delude ourselves into saying, oh, I'm today at my highest self, that I can even purify that. So does this level of purification allow for that causal connection?
Oh, I think so. I think that's a great question too. And, you know, again, these are ancient spiritual technologies, and they thought about this. They thought about what if what you're thinking's right isn't right? Well, that would be everybody, by the way. We all have an idea of what is right. You know, so what is truly right, like baseline truth. And so their answer to that is to have these protections in place to help us do that. Number one, we're just going to be really super aware of what I'm saying and how I'm communicating it. And I'm looking for the result and have the intention of elevation to happen, elevation and more wholeness and more integration, right? Whatever that looks like, because here's the kicker is what may be right action may not look so pleasant or feel pleasant. That's the kicker. Just because it's pleasant to you doesn't mean that it's good for you. Plenty of things that we are attracted to that are pleasant and comfortable are you know, some of the evilest things you could ever get involved with. And vice versa, some of the most unpleasant things you could do. No, these are actually really can be very beneficial. So this is where I think these technologies really address that. And some of the technologies will envision it by having the whole tradition and an emblematic head of a whole lineage behind you that's saying, we're going to protect you. We're looking out for you too. It's not just you. We're in on this with you. And you know what? We're going to make it so you're not damaging yourself. We're going to help you. We're going to help you with this. You know, is it when we cut the kujikiri, is there a whole lineage of others, you know, because you did think it's like a football team, right? One football team and a warfare is cutting their kuji, and this team over here is cutting their kuji. Well, who wins? You know, who wins? So all of them got, you know, these lineage of spirit warriors arraigned in front. Who wins? And what's the right one? Well, the way that this technology is answering this is it's saying these technologies already have built-in protections with it. And this is where we kind of get into things just briefly, like the 14-point code of mindful action. The 6 paramitas are parameters for our behavior and heroic parameters. You know, all of these are the 8-fold noble path. All of these are protections so that we're not getting in our own way, so that we're not falling back into our old stories and old habits and we're catching it, right? So that is the primary protector, is awareness. And I think it goes beyond levels of our own awareness. I really do. I think it reaches beyond that. That's the only way it could work, right? That's the only way it could work, because what I think is right now really feels right. It just feels right. Yeah, that's the problem. That's why we have arguments. That's why we get into strife. That's why we create stress for ourselves. We thought it was right. It looked right on the front end, but on the back end, you know, so then these symbolic technologies, I think, somehow cut through all that. And got to be careful, because, oh no, it may feel right. No, and you see 101,000 people out there. No, this is right. We're right. We got to take action on this. No, you're wrong. You're wrong, and you're creating more hurt, and you're creating more of it, and you're getting in your own way. You think you're right. Sit your ass down and question that. And so then that's, for me, that's something that I do. Like, if I think I'm really right, my wife is really good at this. She'll point it out to me, which you're right. I got to really think about this.
Jim, you froze again. Can you say your wife will point out to you what?
Oh, she'll point out to me when I think I'm right and I may not be right. she'll point it right out. It's good to have loved ones, and it's good for Sangha too, for other people here to point it out. You know, oh, well, you know, if I maybe I can do this other practice, and I can bring in this other thing too, and I can bring in this, and we'll bring in some hoodoo, and we're bringing some, no, you better check on that. Better check on that and make sure from bigger, brighter beings other than you, your teachers, I'm talking about, that Anshu and others are they agree with you that this is helping. If you get reserved answers about this, like, well, you may want to think, if you get that, you need to really rethink what you're doing. So, but in short answer, I really think that these technologies have those protections built in. So that was a great question. It's a great question. Okay. Oh, got a little bit of time. Oh, we've got 5 minutes for emptiness.
Maybe we save that one for your next discussion.
Maybe that. Well, let's do that because that's. You know, the other ones are pretty down to earth, but the emptiness one, even though it is the bottom line truth about how things operate. But maybe that would be best saved. So are we out of time now, Mr. Griffin?
Yes, sir. That was a lot. And I know a couple people still had some questions. So please throw those out there on a Facebook group. We'll still be able to continue the discussion there. Mr. McFarland, thank you so much, sir.
Oh man, my hope is that you're not walking away more confused. Okay, so not that, you feel it's more practical now. You feel like I get what this may be about now. So that you're a little closer to that, and ask your questions in the Facebook group. Ask it, just be bold. Get in there and ask them, because I guarantee if you're thinking about it, there's 7 others or 10 others that are thinking the same thing. So then get in there, and the best answers of all are, of course, going to come from Anshu. Now, he's not infallible. He's been wrong, and he doesn't like it when he's wrong. He really strives not to be wrong. But it's always good to get some bigger guidance. So some of those questions would be great just for me to shut up and let him answer and see what he says, see what he does with it. So, okay, very good. Have a good day. Lots of blessings to everybody. Lots of blessings, lots of love and kindness, and enjoy your practice now. So enjoy it. Enjoy what you're doing. Okay. All right.
We'll see you guys all at the same time next week with Mr. Hayes again next Saturday. And give me about 48 hours here. I'll get this video edited and put up there on YouTube so that you can all see it. And of course, let me know again if you're still having any trouble seeing the last one. I know I added the security feature of granting access to certain email accounts with YouTube. So I hope that you're all able to get on there and review these. But of course, let me know if you're having any trouble.
All right. Everybody have a great day. Have a great day. We'll see you soon.